Well, despite Hurricane Florence, the Freedom Honor flight is set to take off from La Crosse tomorrow morning. News 8's Scott Behrens tells us about an 89-year-old Navy veteran who's getting ready for the big flight. Scott?
Martha, James Lamke joined the Navy in 1946 when he was just 17 years old. He's traveled all around the world, started several businesses, and raised a happy, healthy family, all of which he credits to his time in the Navy. But in spite of his success, his time in the Navy wasn't always smooth sailing.
It was a different lifetime.
James Lamke grew up about 2 hours southeast of La Crosse in Highland, Wisconsin.
I was born and raised during the Depression, where you were lucky if you had anything to eat at all.
Like many Americans, his life forever changed after Pearl Harbor.
All my friends were going, most of them getting drafted.
When Lamke was 15, he asked his father to let him join the Navy.
My dad wouldn't sign the papers, so I hitchhiked to New York.
Looking for adventure and feeling the urge to serve his country, Lamke signed up to work on a merchant marine ship.
That's when the Germans were sinking all our ships, so they were hiring anybody that they could get hold of.
When he turned 17, he finally got to join the Navy.
4 of my compadres were in the Navy at the time, so I figured that was the place to go.
He started boot camp in San Diego and quickly found out it wasn't what he expected.
I always hated San Diego, because it was cold and it was wet.
At the time, he had no idea he was about to go somewhere even wetter and much colder.
I joined to go to Alaska.
He was stationed on Attic Island for 3 years.
Nightmare. The wind blew all the time and it was either snowing or raining. These are all Quonset huts. And on a heavy wind, they would slide down the hill.
But one good thing that came out of it was learning how to run a business.
And I was a storekeeper.
From there, Lamke gladly went back to San Diego and joined the underwater demolition team, the precursor to the Navy SEALs.
UDT is a rough outfit. And after a certain while, you get tired of that.
During a training exercise with live explosives, something went very wrong.
The officer in charge neglected to check his watch, and the charges went off. The charges went off to destroy the tetrahedrons before we got away too far enough so the concussion didn't hurt us.
The blast from the explosion knocked out Lamke and everyone else who was near him.
Everybody ended up floating. We all were all bleeding out of our eyes and ears.
In spite of that, Lamke signed on for another 2 years in the Navy for one reason.
I needed the money.
After his service, Lamke took advantage of the GI Bill, went to UW-La Crosse, and met his future wife, Ruth.
I met her when I was in college.
He even used the shopkeeping skills he gained in the Navy to run a food stand at Sawyer Auditorium.
Ruth and I and the family had the concession business in the auditorium for how many years? 15 years.
Lamke says none of that would have happened if he didn't join the Navy.
I think everyone should have 4 years of service.
This will be the first time Lamke gets to see the monuments built in his honor. Best of all, he gets to see them on his birthday. Lamke will be turning 90 years old tomorrow. Martha?
What a great way to celebrate. Thanks a lot, Scott. And the Freedom Honor flight is scheduled to take off from Colgan Air at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.